So how did it all start?
So, I wanted to be a prof. That's why you do a
Professor.
PhD. Yeah, I went to Princeton.
Yeah.
When I was yesterday, somebody asked me, one of my employees asked me, so I'm 23 now, what were you thinking when you were 23? I said, I can tell you exactly what I was thinking. I thought I was in a PhD program. I'm going to finish it and become a prof.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking at 23. So then over the course of the PhD, I changed my mind. In Princeton. This was in Princeton in 90, it's probably about 92, 93. That's when I'm slowly thinking, maybe this is not for me. I don't want to be a prof. But I finished the PhD anyway. I got an academic job.
Okay.
I didn't take it. The last minute,
you
actually.
You finished the program, you got a job.
I finished the PhD, got an academic job that I would have wanted.
Yeah. Which you aspired for.
I aspired for. And they had applied for, this was an Australian National University.
Okay.
And they applied for my permanent residency. They got it. And then I called the consulate and say, I'm not coming. I don't want the job.
What did they say?
They were shocked. I mean, you got the job and you applied for everything and then you don't want it. So that's how life changed.
So what happened?
I had gone through, during my last couple of years in PhD already, I thought that this is not what I wanted to. Mm-hmm. It's all too, you are solving mathematical problems that are completely irrelevant to anything real.
But by the way, what PhD was it?
My PhD was in electrical engineering, supposedly.
Okay.
But these days, everything has become too abstract.
Yeah.
It's become mathematics in the name of engineering, that too irrelevant stuff. As I used to joke, it's not even wrong, it's irrelevant. Like nobody cares about this.
Yeah.
But you will study some very obscure corner and you'll write elaborate theorems about it.
On it.
Yeah, that's what I did. I didn't want to be doing it. I thought I'm an engineer, I want to build stuff. I can crank this math, but it's not interesting anymore.
Right.
So I lost interest in it, so I decided to move out. That's why I didn't want to be a prof.
So how did your family react to it?
I took a job in Qualcomm, so I became an engineer.
Okay.
And that was a big change. And in Qualcomm is where I met, in fact, there's a Delhi connection to Zoho. You won't know that.
Okay.
One of my fellow engineers, Avnish Agarwal, is from Delhi, and the first day I meet him, he joins like 3 weeks after me, right? He had a master's from Stanford at that point. He says we should start a company. That's the very first day we meet.
Day.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've just taken a risk.
I've just joined Qualcomm, and he comes and says we should start a company together. And it's that kind of guy, right? And he had that spirit in him. And then I was there actually 2 years, and he was there in Qualcomm all the way until very recently. He didn't become the co-founder, but he instigated us into starting.
So he told you to start a company.
Yeah,
you started a company. He didn't start. He
didn't join.
He didn't join.
He stayed in Qualcomm.
Okay.
Green card, all those issues then. So there was a lot of issues, right? It's not easy to leave a job in the US at that time. Yeah. Even now, but then it was even worse.
Right.
So he said, I'll have to get my green card first, and that took him another 5, 6, 7 years. So all that. But that's why he didn't join. But he was the one who actually, until he's talked about it, I had no idea that I'm going to be starting a company. It was Avnish who actually put that thought in me.
Put that seed.
That seed, yeah.
Wow.
It was back in 94, I guess, 94. Actually, I left my job in 96, April. But the seed was there, and it was also part of it is all this talent from India. We noticed in Qualcomm, right? All of us, even then, I'm talking about even 94, a lot of the people inventing the technology were Indian. If you look at Qualcomm patents, since then, Qualcomm was a relatively small company then. And now it's like 25 billion, 30 billion revenue company.
Right.
But at that time, it was a 200 million revenue company. I remember. You can see the size difference. Yeah. It's like 100 times bigger now, right? It was a fledgling company. Wasn't making money. It was making losses. And they were hiring smart engineers, and they were figuring out this new thing called CDMA.
Yeah.
That's what was happening. We were all part of that. And that's when he planted this seed. He said we should start. And the conversation, our lunchtime, we always had lunch together, dinners together, everything together, right? All the conversation would be, why are My brother also was there, Kumar. In fact, Kumar in Qualcomm. Then he joined about 3 months into it. Like I joined first, then Avnish joined, and then Kumar joined. Yeah?
But your real brother?
Yeah, my younger brother, real brother. So he also joined Qualcomm as a software engineer. You talk about how do you, why don't we have these companies in India?
Yeah. That's what we talk about it. Like, wow.
And in fact, I used to joke. Avnish became a big fan of South Indian food because Kumar would cook. Kumar is a great cook.
Okay.
So every day Avnish only got our food.
Yeah.
Sambar and everything, right?
Right.
So he became a big fan of that food. His mother used to come and she would say, "You guys have converted my son into a South Indian." So you take care of him well, you feed him well.
I'm sure the mother never had a problem.
Never had a problem with that, right? But our conversation was all this over food and our this thing, all that. And then Kumar came back to India.
Okay.
In 95 November.
Okay.
That's how it started. Like we would talk. Kumar one day said, "Let me go back to India." So he resigned his job and he took a flight from LA and came to Chennai. Okay. And that's the actual genesis in a way. Then about that, around the same time, one of my colleagues introduced me to Tony.
Okay.
And Tony was ahead of me in IIT, but I didn't know him in IIT. He was in the same branch, all that, but I didn't know him. He was 2-3 years ahead of me. So, but
your
one of
co-founder.
Tony Thomas.
Yeah.
And so Kumar had gone to India, and then my brother Shekhar had started a PhD program in Rochester.
Okay.
He joined with a full scholarship, and just like my experience, he tells the prof in 3 months, "I'm going back to India." Again, flabbergasted, right? You come all the way and you join this program and you have a scholarship, you have money.
Let go some other kid because
and then 3 months later you're saying you're going back to India.
Yeah.
That's what he did. Actually, he stayed exactly 3 months in the US. He joined in September of 95. And then December he was gone. He'd gone back to India to join Kumar.
Okay.
That's how the whole genesis. These two guys went back. That's when my parents were really scared.
Yeah.
Because 2 of the boys who were both in the US come back and they don't have jobs.
Yeah.
They're saying they're going to start something. And then I met Tony. This is probably early 96.
Okay.
And Tony was in Bell Labs at the time. He's also a PhD like me. He got his PhD in Johns Hopkins.
Okay.
I got my PhD in Princeton. I was in Qualcomm, he was in Bell Labs. Bell Labs was the capital of a lot of these things, but already starting to fade.
Yeah.
In fact, Tony was given a buyout, as they say. That means that you leave the job and pay you to leave the job. They were laying off people.
Severance.
And so he took that. He said, "Okay, I'll take it." Because it was clear that the glory days were over. Yeah. So he left and he started something at home in New Jersey. And that's when I linked Kumar and Tony.
So
and they started working there, and they're doing something, and why don't you guys work together? And that's how it started.
Okay.
And I left my job in 96 April. Then I moved to Silicon Valley to figure out what to do. Okay. And this thing was going on with Tony and Kumar was going in the background, but nobody had any money, right? It's all stuff people are doing.
Home coding,
trying to do something. And then I moved, and in 3 months I ran out of money. My savings were exhausted. So I did some contract programming. I did something in Silicon Valley. I worked for, actually, briefly, I even worked for Cisco, a division of Cisco, for briefly about 6 months. I was a contract programmer. And so I did all of this to survive, bring in some money. And that's when we went to a trade show. This was in 97. And for software, I'm like signed up as a salesman. So that's now, why. Yeah.
Wow.
Nobody, Tony codes, my brother is coding, and who will sell?
Some cash coming in.
Somebody has to sell. So I became the salesman.
Wow.
So I go to the show and we demo the software, and it actually sold. We found customers. Okay. We found interested. In fact, our early customers were all Japanese. So I still have a software. Yeah. The trade show was in Las Vegas.
And it's not easy to please Japanese people in terms of products.
Yes.
That's what I hear.
True. But see, in this case, I'll tell you the interesting thing about Japan then. This was a lot of Silicon Valley companies had a some Japanese connection, including Microsoft, Apple, all of them.
Okay.
And why? Because see, Japan was still, remember, this was the stage of 80s was Japanese superpower as an economic superpower.
Okay.
90s, the bubble had burst, but still, Japan was still riding high.
Yeah.
It's sort of like how China's image is now in a lot of things, and even better. Japan was even bigger at that time. And a lot of their companies would cooperate with small fledgling startups in Silicon Valley for critical new technology.
Okay.
It turned out we had something that they wanted. And we were building. Yeah, so we were building, it was Tony's background. Tony was building network management stuff for Bell Labs.
Okay.
Managing networks. It's AT&T.
Right.
So you build vast networks.
Right.
He was writing software to manage those networks. Then when he left, he decided to do the same thing when he took the buyout. But this time, with a focus, maybe we'll go sell it to the guys who sell the equipment to AT&T.
Okay.
That was the goal.
Like take my software, your
equipment and sell it to give the solution to AT&T.
Yeah.
Because I have expertise in that area, right? That's what he started. And then my brother Kumar and Shekhar and they had already brought on board a couple of more friends. All that. Shailesh, who's now heading our labs.
Yeah.
He was a classmate of my brother Shekhar.
Okay.
So he joined in Chennai. So we were all doing this. And then in this show, we showed the software. Suddenly, unexpected. This was unexpected. The Japanese printer makers were there.
Okay.
At that time, Minolta, Kyocera.
Yeah.
I think they all merged later. Ricoh. Even Canon was in printing, copying.
Yeah.
They were all there. They all showed interest in our software. And only later, I analyzed it. Why are they so interested? I figured out the reason. Their primary competition was HP, Hewlett Packard.
Right.
And HP was a leader in management software. HP had a very good network management software.
And they didn't.
The Japanese didn't. And so what do they do now? So they find this small company there, and these guys have something.
Yeah.
And and the Japanese already thought Indians know software. Even by then, I'm talking about 97. Yeah, so they said, okay, well, why don't we partner with these guys and you give us the code and we'll ship with our equipment. So that year, 98, we crossed $1 million in sales on the strength of this. It was like the second year, I would say. First year, there was little money or no money. Now suddenly we find ourselves $1 million because of all these deals we are doing.
Right.
Kyocera and Minolta, and then Ricoh came, and then Canon came about a year later, or like that. Then eventually even Xerox came. Xerox itself came. In fact, Xerox was a big customer by 99, 2000, because again, same reason. For everyone, the main competition was HP.
Right.
And HP was a leader in the software, and they didn't have that software. So we figured this out, and we rode that little mini wave from million to 2 million to it went up to 8 million.
Wow.
And then we also diversified into other equipment, similar network stuff, other switches.
Who else would need management software?
Management software. All of the other network guys became customers. And then the optical boom happened in Silicon Valley. 99, 2000, it was the original dot-com bubble. It was known as the dot-com bubble. But there was also a telecom bubble. As you cannot go, 5 miles without hitting 3 optical companies. They'll say XYZ Networks or this opticals, all that.
Right.
And you go into their labs, they all look very shiny, blinking lights, all the fiber optics.
Yeah.
The vision then was the whole world will be connected with fiber optics. Well, 25 years later, the whole world is connected with fiber optics. But those companies don't exist.
But they were the ideators.
They started it, but most companies died.
Yeah.
It's that's how it happens always. But that's the nature of bubbles. There were 400 optical companies then. And we sold our software to maybe 150 of them.
150?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was the prosperity during that period where suddenly, boom.
Yeah.
There was 1 year where our revenue tripled. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's over a year. It's impossible to keep up.
Right.
Because we don't have enough people to satisfy the customer. So we are house on fire kind of situation because customers calling and there's not enough people and we can't hire enough, fast enough, all of that.
Yeah.
Because when you triple, you're just crazy growth. Month to month, you're watching that thing. And then 2001, the 9/11 attacks happened.
Yeah.
Everything came to a screeching halt, finished. The whole business, optical business, those 400 companies, maybe one survived in the end.
Just one.
One, yeah. In other words, the scale of bust you witness, that's something. I mean, and I knew even in the peak of the time, I knew that there's so many companies, they cannot all possibly survive in this market. But what I didn't know was that 99% of them won't make it. Like I kind of knew that, there's a bubble going on.
It'll be hard, but
it'll be hard for all of them.
Everybody would die.
Everybody would die.
Literally.
And that's what happened. There is hardly any optical networking companies in Silicon Valley. They all got consolidated to Cisco and a couple of guys.
Yeah.
So that's how it evolved. But then they were all our customers.
Yeah.
So in 2002-03, hardship.
Yeah.
Like we actually had to go through like very tough times. Luckily for us, we diversified into Japan a little bit, and then we had China. In 2001, we signed up a couple of Chinese companies. In 2003, they took off.
They took off.
There was a Chinese telecom wave coming. That's when these companies like Huawei today and ZTE, all these companies that are world leaders today, they were all taking off then.
Right.
They were like, $100 million companies. Now Huawei is a $100 billion company. So, 1,000-fold growth.
Yeah.
We were supplying software to Huawei when they were small. They would send engineers to Chennai to work with us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they were smaller then. They were not matching the scale of the US companies then.
Correct.
But still, when your revenue is dropping that fast, any revenue was good.
Right.
So, these Chinese companies were, at that time, for a couple of years, we actually did well in China.
So, while all of this was happening, now your parents were happy?
Yeah, at that point they knew, we had a business, we knew how to.
We had a business, we were settled.
And then the 2001, 2, 3, we had to reinvent ourselves.
But you stayed there.
I was there primarily handling sales.
Primarily.
I was handling sales.
Till the bust.
Till the bust.
And then
resurrection was, we had to diversify our markets.
Right.
This telecom market isn't going to cut it.
Correct.
To come to the realization takes a year. You are in denial. Yeah. Nobody wants to accept it.
You probably think next month
it'll be better. Yeah. Some of these companies will come back.
Yeah.
And even your sales guy tells you, I see some signs of revival. It's all false, right? But you fool yourself because you don't want to believe, right? That it's gone, it's over. Yeah. That phase is over.
But isn't that natural that people start a business and they're stuck to a market, they want to service it well, and they want to create a focus and core there, and it somehow gets completely overlooked that what if this goes down? All our eggs in one basket.
That's what happened to us.
Yeah.
But you think telecom is a huge market, and then the optical revolution was happening, the cable modem revolution was happening, the wireless revolution had started, and still there was a huge bust. This is what I remind people. You could have, in 10 years, everything could be AI. But most of the AI companies funded may not survive. Both will be true.
Yeah.
You have to account for both. Yeah. That's what bubbles do.
That's what bubbles do. There are innovators, early adapters, and then there is a rejig.
And then there's also, in all these, strategy, luck, everything plays a role. Some companies may have a fast ride, but they don't have a staying power. They don't have how to stay relevant when things change on them. The companies then that just get unlucky.
Yeah.
Then there are companies that get acquired by others during this whole gold rush period. There was a company, I remember, it sold to Cisco at the peak of the bubble for $6 billion.
Okay.
A year later, they would not have commanded even $60 million.
Wow, what a drop.
Cisco overpaid, right?
Overpaid.
But they were lucky. They just sold at the peak at $6 billion. Yeah. So that's an example.
That's
so all these stories were there. You could see it then. You got a precursor to, bubbles to come later.
Yeah.
Even bigger bubbles have come.